So, here's a fun fact. I'm extremely lazy, and I don't want to transport footage from an actual camera onto my PC. So instead, just for this little intro bit, instead we're just gonna, use the crappy built-in webcam. And I use these for all my streams, which I don't do many of. And it's fine when it's just a small thing in the corner, but once blown up on the screen, yeah, you can see it's not too good. We even got a little slider. And look at that. That's way better. All right, today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be reviewing 6 movies and shows in one video. Mostly because I don't think I got lazy and I didn't upload for a while, so a lot of things came out while I was gone. So we're just gonna review them all in one big video. And honestly, you should be thanking me because this is 6 videos in one. That's like half a year of uploads. So you're welcome. The first thing I'm gonna be
God, I'm
talking
so
about
burnt out of
is
Star Wars
Obi-Wan on
content.
Disney Plus.
I mean,
pretty much the only reason I'm making this review is because it gives me an excuse to get footage of me playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is a great game, but it's not even because I'm tired of the world. Hell, I'm building a D&D campaign in the Star Wars universe. I'm as much as a shill as everybody else. But what I'm tired of is the exact same story being told. See, there's a lot of options with the premise of a lone Jedi trying to hide from the Empire. The best parts of the show is Obi-Wan dealing with past trauma and trying to do everything he can for the future of the galaxy. The problem is that it often falls into the trap of trying to be the Mandalorian, a formula that doesn't really work in this context. They turned Obi-Wan into a planet-hopping badass hero that kind of goes against the initial promise of the show. The motivations of the main villain also doesn't make much sense. She was a surviving Jedi from Order 66 and is seeking revenge on the Jedi for failing to save the younglings. That is such a cool motivation for an antagonist, as her very existence kind of forces Obi-Wan to face his past. The problem is that she goes about this plot by joining the Empire, the group who executed Order 66 in the first place. Why wouldn't it make more sense if she was like a chaotic neutral third party going after everyone involved in Order 66, both Vader and Obi-Wan? I mean, it makes no sense to kill other survivors of the Order who were probably as young as her at the time just to get closer to Anakin. A better idea would be for her to try and stir up enough conflict for Vader to actually show up, so that she can attempt to kill him, and Obi-Wan does. Uh, he just doesn't even matter in the end. She doesn't even matter in the end, because she gets thrown away before the final episode. So yeah, this series reeks of wasted potential is the only word I can really use to describe it. I mean, I'll give it a 5 out of 9. Alright, let's talk about something I actually do liked, which was Umbrella Academy Season 3. It's kind of funny to me that while the MCU and Arrowverse are constantly pumping out multiple seasons each year in their respected universes, that the two best superhero shows of the modern day are easily The Boys and Umbrella Academy. And I guess also Invincible. They kind of occupy two separate ends of the spectrum. The Boys is gritty, has a lot of political commentary, and focuses on the world building of a superhero society. Umbrella Academy, however, is goofy fun times and feels like a comic book come to life, and I love it. The formula of each season, they basically present a new threat to the timeline that the group first has to figure out about before tackling it is an objectively flawed concept because there's only a handful of characters who really have the knowledge of time travel and universal threats. Plus, the repetition of the same basic plot points should get boring, but I don't really mind it because of how earnestly the characters are written. Season 3 trusts that the viewers enjoy the characters and understand them enough for the writers to simply just have them hang out. Hell, the best episode in the whole season is literally when the characters give up on the plot and just hang out and get drunk. Each umbrella gets something to do that engages and characterizes who they are. Luther gets to be happy for once. Diego has to figure out how to be a father and then his kid fucking dies. And he's just like forgotten about throughout the rest of the show. Allison has to face grief and trauma from the fact that every timeline she builds up a new life for herself before it all comes crashing down. That creates a really fun conflict between her and Victor. Klaus reconnects with his father. Five just kind of moves the plot forward. Ben is an asshole instead of the nice straight guy that we've come to know him. The straight man, not straight. I don't know. He could be gay. Uh, and Victor gains more of an understanding of who he is. Like I said, the show has always been the best when it focuses on the characters and their relationships. I really do love this series, and I can't wait for more. The plot twists and just general um, bingeability of the entire show makes me really excited for season 4. So I'll give it a 8 out of 9. Alright, so let's take a break from live action stuff and talk about Lightyear. Uh, because everybody on the internet loves my opinions on Pixar films. It's incredibly mid. It's okay. I don't have really anything to talk about, but I watched the movie, so I'm putting this in the video just to feel like I gained something. I mean, the animation is still good, but just it feels kind of empty, and there are some themes and some character ideas that I really like, but it they don't really get fleshed out to the standard of what Pixar's been doing. And I've liked a lot of Pixar's recent stuff. I love Soul, Luca, Turning Red was good. They've been pretty consistent recently, but this one was kind of a step down from the usual quality. So I guess I'll give it a 5 out of 9. Alright, let's talk about what the MCU has been doing, both in their shows and movies, starting with Doctor Strange in the multiple wacky worlds. Now, this movie is kind of the ultimate Phase 4 Marvel project because it's a complete mess. Plot points and world building is thrown at you, but it still feels like the film accomplishes nothing. Wanda as a villain is kind of a mixed bag. The movie does a poor job showing how this character arc for her is any different from the one she went through in WandaVision. But on the flip side, holy shit, we got an MCU horror movie directed by Sam Raimi. The cinematography and just kind of general directing are the best part of the movie. Another mind-blowing aspect is the fact that they somehow made Doctor Strange interesting. He has struggles that only his character can have, considering his scale is on a like multiversal scale. It presents a lot of ethical questions that characters like Spider-Man don't really have to face. And for as dumb as the Illuminati is, seeing them get Omni-Manned out of the movie is pretty cool. Watching Wanda just rip them apart. Like it's pushes the line of PG-13. You know, a lot of Marvel movies they could probably get away with being PG in my opinion, but this one definitely feels like a PG-13 Marvel movie, which is pretty good. It's pretty cool. Also, this movie it isn't really funny at all. even by Marvel standards. New characters are introduced, but none of them really last. I mean, we would only care. The only reason we should care about the Illuminati is because they're characters we recognize in other things. But in this actual movie, they're nothing. And there's a new character who's introduced who can travel between multiverses, and her name is it's like America or something. She is extremely uninteresting. And again, Wanda is just a really mixed bag of a villain. It's like she's cool, and I like the idea of an Avenger being the villain of the story. But just by the end of it, she realizes that she has to let go of the fact that she won't get to see her kids, and that they have to go because they're not part of this universe. But she kind of already came to basically the same conclusion in WandaVision, so it just comes off as weird. And also, just I think they really dropped the ball with the whole multiverse mechanics. Because it's oh, we have literally a multiverse. We can do so many cool things with that concept, with Doctor Strange hopping to different worlds and everything. But then the only one we really get to be in for a substantial part of the movie is just a world where red lights mean go and green lights mean stop. And it's excellent writing. Truly excellent writing. So yeah, my final critique is more disappointing than bad, because again, it's got a lot of potential, but overall there's a lot of stuff I like in this movie, but it's dragged down by Wanda retreating her previous arc, poor pacing, and pretty mid writing, but it was still enjoyable on just a theater experience perspective. So I guess I'll give it a 6 out of 9. That sounds right. It's above average, but barely. Meanwhile, on the TV end of the MCU, we have Miss Marvel, which is kind of the opposite of Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange deals with universal level threats, while Miss Marvel goes for more of a ironically Sam Raimi's Spider-Man kind of vibe. It's kind of a show of two halves. The first 3 episodes are really good. It's a simple coming-of-age story with a relatable lead character who develops her superpowers. This is the most basic outline you can do for a superhero story, but it's executed well because we get a large portion of the story dedicated to before Kamala actually gets her powers. In other words, we care about the character first before we need to get invested in the hero saving stuff aspect of the show. And when we get to that part, around episode 4, the show really kind of drops off a bit. It's not terrible. I would say it's more just underwhelming. It's, if you take into account about 40 minutes per episode, about 2 hours. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not being stupid. 2 hours of um the 2 hours of content that just kind of doesn't feel too interesting, And I mean, I don't really like this entire second half of the season, but the first half's really good. The characters are written fairly well, even though I don't tend to care about any of them other than the protagonist. So yeah, it's like I said it was the opposite of Doctor Strange, but it's at the same time kind of the same, where there's a lot of great ideas, but by the end, all that creativity gets meddled with from the same stale MCU formula. So again, I gotta give this one a 6 out of 9. All right, time for the main event of the video. The last piece of media we will talk about is Stranger Things Season 4. Now, I have a bit of a theory that the writers of Stranger Things never intended for the show to go past Season 1, so thus they've really struggled to effectively progress the story. Season 2 and 3 were fine, but I really do feel like there's a large gap in quality between the first and latter seasons. Season 4, on the other hand, was a noticeable jump in quality from Season 3. This season actually felt like a horror show, and it's filled with a lot of suspense. The mystery is engaging and pretty much as rewarding to watch as the original season. Also, the general directing cinematography, like that's always been, in my opinion, one of the strongest aspects of the show. It's top tier shit. I know people are tired of the Kate Bush song from TikTok, but by now, but the running up that hill scene is easily the most powerful scene in the entire series, and it's largely because of how they incorporated the music. So it personally doesn't upset me too much, even if the song has been, kind of driven into the ground. However, the Metallica scene doesn't feel as. It felt more like, it's a nostalgic song, just throw it in there. Um, but again, the running up that hill scene is easily it's top tier stuff, and it had me jumping up and down like a giddy toddler, honestly, when I first saw it. That's the other thing that makes the show so popular: the characters. Look, I'm not going to act as though every character is great. Mike and Will have been useless for like 3 seasons now. I think we spend way too much time with the basketball team, and Erica has always personally bugged me as a character. Not as an actress. The child is she's doing a good job. Steve and Robin are still a great duo. Natalie is a much more proactive character in the story. She does a lot more to actually drive the plot forward, which you don't see with a lot of the, I guess, more weak characters. It's usually Eleven or Hopper that drive everything. So that was a nice change of pace. Lucas, Jonathan, Eddie, and of course the MVP of the season, Max, are all also great. And honestly, that's all most people want from this type of show. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. People care much more about characters instead of the actual plot and story structure. I could watch some of my favorite characters in media just like go to an Applebee's, and it'll be more interesting than a show with a great plot, but characters that act like robots instead of people. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it seems like that's the general direction media tends to go nowadays. Now, let's go over the bad of this season, which really can be boiled down to one word: focus. Like, why the frick was I talking about Applebee's and characters going there before? Because I lost focus. See, I'm a writing genius. And Stranger Things is trying to focus on like 50 things at once, so let's go over the plot lines of the show. The group in Hawkins battling Vecna is easily the best part of the show. Jonathan, Will, Mike, and the new character are going after Eleven. This plot point is fine, but gets barely any screen time, unlike the dumbass Hopper Russia stuff. It was the worst part of Season 3, and it's still the worst part of Season 4. Elle also goes through psychic Pokemon training, which is actually decent, but kind of drags down the pacing because there's like 50 other characters the viewers want to see, and we're just stuck on Elle. Also, there's a dumb plot where everyone hates Eddie, and it doesn't really matter as much when we have multi-dimensional stakes, so I don't really care for, the part of the town hating Dungeons and Dragons. It is really, it really kind of stabs your heart when they blame the entire Hawkins fiasco on the Hellfire Club, knowing what all of our characters went through. That's really tough. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, bastards. Um, so yeah, there's so much stuff that's great in the show, but it's also so long, and it really wasn't that necessary. I understand that you kind of have to have Mike and Will and Jonathan, but I'd rather them not be in the show than them just do nothing for the entire season. But yeah, people still come here for the core characters and their dynamics between each other, and also the mystery is really laid out. Vecna's a great villain, by the way. It's nice to see him. This is the first Stranger Things villain where he's, uh, a supernatural threat, but he's also an actual character. He's not like a complex character or anything, but it's nice to have a character that speaks. He's easily probably the scariest thing since the first Demogorgon. Um, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I think season 5, which should be the last season, if I'm not mistaken, should be pretty dang good. It really feels like the writers understand where they're going with the direction of the show. And yeah, other than some pacing issues, this show was just plain old fun to watch. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 9. So there's the 6-in-1 collection. I hope it's everything you wanted from 6 reviews in one video. And by that I mean 6 reviews in one video, and goddamn it, I, I, I accomplished it. I accomplished the title of the video. So, bye. The next video will probably be the next entry in my Sonic review series, because for some reason people have latched onto that as like kind of like the cash cow, proverbial cash cow of the channel. So that's what will be next. Bye.